Hello and welcome to Number by Color. My name is Todd, and today I am very excited to talk about the debut demo for Project Triangle Strategy, the new strategy RPG from Square Enix. As you may have seen in the Nintendo Direct that happened Wednesday, February 17th, Square Enix released a teaser trailer and an actual demo for a new strategy RPG that is being developed using their HD 2D visual aesthetic. It's very similar to Octopath Traveler. However, from what I can tell, this game is not being developed by the same studio doing Octopath Traveler. I think it's very confusing to me. I tried to look up the information on the studios who developed that and the Bravely Default series. It seems like there's cross-pollination to some degree, but based on what information is available about this game, especially at the end of the demo, it says who it's being developed by. This game is being developed by ArtDink, and they actually worked on the original Ogre Battle and the original Tactics Ogre for the Super Nintendo, so that tells me that this game is in very capable hands. It's being co-developed by a studio called Nechubiori, maybe pronouncing that wrong, but it seems like at least the pedigree is there. Even if the Octopath developers are not developing this, it still is very exciting because we're getting more tactics, which we haven't really gotten from Square in a long time. So I just briefly want to go over what is actually in this demo and how I feel about it. I don't really have a full script, so hopefully this video doesn't really go long. I know that if I am left to my own devices and just ramble off the top of my head, things can get long, and I'm doing it now, so I apologize. But let's just get into what the demo is, what it offers, and how Square may be using this to move forward with the actual production of the game itself. So first I want to talk about the story, because I have said in the past that the story is not always the most important aspect of a game, but for a tactical RPG like this, usually, I mean, if you look at Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre, you'll probably agree that the story is a big part of what makes those games so compelling. It's the characters and the political story that is happening in the game, more than just the tactical combat, which of course is a big part of what makes those games great, but it's the political sort of intrigue that also helps make those games as strong as they are. And as a side note, that's probably the reason why I didn't feel as strong a connection to a game like Tactics A2 or Final Fantasy Tactics Advance for the Game Boy Advance. So touching on the story, the demo starts us in Chapter 6. It took me about 30 minutes to get through all the world building and exposition before fighting the first battle. Maybe I was playing slowly, but it's going to be roughly about that much time. There are a lot of main player characters that we are introduced to in this time, so you get sort of an idea of what's happening. It's kind of in medias res, which is just like it's in the middle of events that are already happening. You can tell that there is something that's been going on. We don't get the full scope of everything, but I think we get a good enough idea of who the main players are to get sort of an understanding of what the world is, what's happening. And I think from what is in the demo, the voice acting is a little bit hit or miss. It ranges from good to not great. I don't think it ever goes to bad, but it just wavers a lot, and maybe that's something to do with the demo. Maybe because it's, you know, the game's not coming out till 2022, so maybe it's just kind of placeholder. Maybe they're still trying to figure out the tone and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, just from all the characters we meet and everything going on, it seems really interesting and intriguing. There's a lot in this world that I personally am interested to find out more about. We don't really get a ton. We do get things here and there, and I guess I'll talk about a little bit of the systems behind what you do for story events in this game. So if you've played the demo, or you're thinking about playing it, or you want to just know what happens, I'm not going to really go over the story specifics, but in this game there is a mechanic where basically your decisions can affect the outcome of certain events. I haven't played the demo multiple times, so I don't know all the different things that you can do in it, and I don't know how much it really affects the outcome, but there is a mechanic in the game where it's called the conviction. There's a scale system where essentially there is an exploration phase in between main story segments and battle segments where you can sort of explore a town, gather information, and then you have to sort of persuade your party members to make a decision about something one way or the other. So there's a big decision that happens in the demo. Some people are leaning toward one vote, some people are leaning toward another vote, some people are undecided. So you go out into the city, talk to people, gather information about the situation that's happening, and you yourself can actually make a decision one way or the other as well. So you go back, you talk to your teammates, and you try to convince them of the position that you want them to vote for. So based on the information that you gather while you're exploring the town, you can sort of persuade them to vote one way or the other. And the cool thing is you don't actually know how they're going to vote until they actually do vote. So when the vote happens, the results are sort of tallied, everybody makes a vote, and then the story continues. Like I said, I didn't go back and play that section multiple times, so I don't know what differences there might have been. I would imagine that the main story battles would still happen, but maybe the outcomes would be slightly different. I don't know though. It seems interesting that they would have something like this, but other games like the Tactics Ogre, I think Tactics Ogre had a system similar to this, or at least your decisions made a difference, made an impact in what happens in the game. So that's a pretty cool mechanic, I think, and I'm interested to see what they really do with that. Another aspect of this is that there are main story segments and side story segments. So when you look at the map, when you're presented with the kind of world map, there are red exclamations, which are main story things, and green exclamations, which are side story segments or little scenes. And it's kind of difficult to know how this will actually work in the final game, but I am sort of a completionist, so I did all the green exclamations before I did any of the story ones just to get them out of the way, and I noticed that some of those green ones actually caused people to join my party based on decisions I had previously made. So that is a pretty interesting and cool mechanic. I'm going to get a little bit more into what maybe implications that has for the battle system of the game, but it's kind of cool that some of your decisions sort of trickle out through the kingdoms and kind of make their way to other people who then decide they want to join your cause and then come and join your party. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know if it's missable. Maybe it's possible if you advance the story and don't go to those green exclamation side story segments. Maybe it's possible that it's no longer an option to recruit those people, but it seems cool either way that you can have people decide to join you based on your decisions. And I'm assuming that people will maybe decide to leave you based on your decisions, but what I experienced in the demo does not show anything like that. Alright, so next I'll briefly talk about the art. Like I said, it's the HD 2D art style that Octopath Traveler had. Not the same developer, but Squaresoft is producing the game, so obviously there's going to be shared assets here. The polish is not quite as strong, and I think that's probably just because it's still in development. The game is a year, presumably a year and a half, maybe longer off. It's 2022, that's all they've said. So I think there's still a lot of time for them to polish this up to get the feeling of the Octopath back, into this game. I don't know why I would say it like that, but what I mean to say is everything is in place from a visual standpoint for this game to look as beautiful as Octopath did, and it really does. A lot of the character portrait art is really, really fantastic. I found myself throughout the demo, every time a new character would come, or even sometimes for characters that I've already seen before, there's an option to sort of view their portrait as they're talking. I would constantly be turning that on just to look at the art, because all the characters have such unique designs and character portraits that it's really amazing. There's so many unique characters in this game that I'm just almost a little bit impressed that there are so many, and I'm sure that there are going to be even more in the final game, unless the scope is sort of what is in the demo, which I'm not expecting, but I guess it's possible. So moving on to gameplay, this is the part where I think this game really shines. This is probably the part that really excited most people who saw this and were interested in it, because we haven't had a Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre game in such a long time. I think maybe War of the Lions on the PSP and Let Us Cling Together on the PSP. I think that was on the PSP as well. So those are probably the last Square published tactical RPGs that I can remember of any like import. From what is in the demo, it starts to capture that same feeling. There are some things that I am a little bit worried about, but not fully worried, just because there are systems in the demo that aren't available to you, which makes me think there's more to this game than what the demo actually presents, which does make sense. One of the things that you can't do in the demo is change or buy new equipment. That is blocked off from you. I'm assuming obviously you'll be able to do this in the final game. There's a section where you can just go into your encampment, where you can talk to people who have joined your team. You can talk to what seems like a blacksmith who maybe upgrades your equipment, and then somebody else, a merchant, you can presumably buy equipment from. So I don't really have any fears in that perspective. The thing that I am worried about is that there were no jobs in the demo. Everybody had their set class and they had their set skills, and I'm hoping that there is some sort of job system in the final game. Octopath had it. I know it's not the same developer, but it seems weird that they wouldn't have it in a tactical game like this because it's very limited in scope, and that seems like a weird limitation for a tactical RPG like this. Nonetheless though, the battles that are in the game are pretty fun. They do require some strategy. I failed the first one once or twice because I was just trying to rush in, but there is a good challenge to it. You have to sort of figure out how everything works. The difference in battles in this game as opposed to games like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre is that there's no MP system. All special abilities require TP, which I don't know, maybe technique points, something like that. So you can move and attack with your character. You get a point for every non-special ability that you use. You can build up maybe up to, I think it's like 5 or 6 points, and each special attack uses between 1 and 3, at least the ones that are in the demo. So you can do a standard attack with 1 turn, and then the next time you get to attack, maybe you'll have 1 or 2 points, you can use one of these special attacks. And that's sort of how the special abilities work. There's no MP, like I said, so you do have to kind of manage your abilities that way, which is actually also a little bit similar to Octopath Traveler, except in that game you did also have MP. And in addition to that, one of the reasons that I'm kind of not sure if there will be a job system is that because people learned new abilities when they leveled up in this game, as opposed to getting points to attribute to learning specific abilities that you choose. If that's the case, it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. I'm not fully expecting, I have no real expectations because this is, I think they called it a debut demo, and since it's so far away, they're going to solicit feedback from the audience, so maybe that will be on the survey that they send out. Maybe they just haven't really implemented that. Maybe they wanted to limit what you're actually able to do in the demo to make it less confusing and cumbersome as far as like all the different mechanics that there could possibly be. There seems to be enough in the demo to get a really good idea of how it will feel, and it does feel really good. I just hope that there is some kind of job system, because that is sort of what makes tactical RPGs so intriguing. What I will say though is that with the characters that do decide to join you, it seems like all of them had very specific special abilities, and that could interfere with a job system. Although if you recall, in Final Fantasy Tactics and Tactics Ogre, you do recruit some characters who do have special attacks that are sort of specific to them. So it's possible that in this game, these characters have specific abilities that are only available to them in their specific class or whatever. But I really hope there's a way to kind of swap out skill sets, because that is really part of the strategy in the strategy RPG. Alright, so I've been talking for a long time now, but in general, I am really excited about the potential that this game has. It does still need a lot of polish in some areas, but what is there seems really promising and really strong. I wish I could go back and play it again. I mean, I can obviously go back and play it again, but I don't want to play it too many times. I don't want to get over familiar with what this demo is, because I'm certain that a lot of things about it are going to change by the time the game actually releases. If you recall, Octopath Traveler had a couple demos, Bravely Default 2 had a couple demos, and Square actually did solicit feedback for both of those games based on the demos that they put out, which is a really cool idea that a lot more developers should probably start to do, especially with games like this where it's really mechanics focused. It's not necessarily the story that they're getting feedback, it's just about the feel of the game and just the experience that they're having with it. So I think it's really cool that Square is getting feedback. I am really looking forward to this. This quickly became one of my most anticipated games of 2022. I can't believe that it's so far away, but we're getting a ton of stuff this year anyway. And Bravely Default 2 is out Friday, February 26th. So really, I have nothing to complain about because that game's gonna have a job system. I'm gonna be set for at least a couple weeks, I would imagine, with that game, and I am very much looking forward to it. But with this one, Project Triangle Strategy, I am very much looking forward to it. What about you guys? Are you looking forward to this? I've been waiting so long for a tactical RPG. I just want more Final Fantasy Tactics. If this is as close as I can get for now, yeah, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna eat it up. Oh man, I just can't wait. But for now, I'm gonna take off. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I will see you guys very soon. Have a good day.